To most citizens of the Imperium, the Space Marines are God's immortal heroes clad in ceramite, descending from the heavens to deliver mankind from the horrors of the galaxy. They are legends, myths made real, the angels of death who know no fear. We see their statues in grand plazas, hear their deeds sung in hymns of praise. They are the ultimate symbols of humanity's strength and defiance. But what few realize, what the glorious propaganda and towering monuments conveniently omit, is that every single one of these demigods began as a child stolen from their home, whether it be a feral death world, a noble spire, or the deepest under. A child who was once loved, who once had a family, who once had dreams of a life beyond the endless war. This is not a tale of glory. This is the story of what it means to be chosen. This is what it's like to be recruited into the Space Marines. The selection process is a meat grinder, a brutal crucible designed to find not the strongest, but the most resilient, the most fanatical. Imagine thousands of boys, barely into their adolescence, pitted against one another in trials that would break a seasoned soldier. They are forced to endure starvation, extreme temperatures, and psychological torment. They face monstrous beasts in gladiatorial arenas, and navigate impossible landscapes where a single misstep means a forgotten death. Most will perish. Their names will be lost, their potential extinguished without a second thought. They are simply part of the grim calculus of creating a Space Marine. The few who survive these initial trials do so not just through strength, but through a terrifying nascent killer instinct. They learn to suppress empathy, to see their peers not as brothers, but as obstacles. The system doesn't just find the best, it forges them in a fire of desperation and violence. For the handful who emerge victorious, the ordeal has only just begun. Their reward is not a medal, but a gurney on a surgical table. This is where the true transformation, the true horror, begins. Here, they are broken down and their bodies are subjected to a battery of invasive, excruciatingly painful surgeries. 19 specialized organs, the gene seed of their Primarch, are implanted into their young bodies. The belcher, the progenoid glands, the os medulla, that makes their bones, grow to inhuman size and density, the biscopia for muscle growth, and the most famous of all, the black carapace, a subdermal sheath that will allow them to interface directly with their power armor. Each implantation carries an immense risk. The body can reject the organs, resulting in agonizing death or mutation into something monstrous. They are pumped full of chemical concoctions and stimulants, their minds scoured and reprogrammed through psycho-indoctrination. The boy they were is systematically erased. Memories of family are suppressed, replaced with litanies of hate and loyalty to the Emperor and their chapter. Fear is cauterized from their minds, leaving only duty. They are no longer human children. They are becoming living weapons. Their very biology twisted into a tool of war. They learn battle doctrine before they learn history. They learn the rights of the bolt gun before they learn how to truly live. The final stage is becoming one with their armor. Encased in a ton of ceramite and plasteel, the boy is gone forever. In his place stands a transhuman warrior, an angel of death standing 8 feet tall. He has forgotten his mother's face, the name of his childhood friend, the warmth of a life that was stolen from him. All that remains is the chapter, the Emperor, and the war. So when you see a Space Marine, remember the cost. Remember the thousands of children who died for that one warrior to stand. Remember the boy who was sacrificed, his humanity stripped away so that a demigod could be born. It is a process of immense sacrifice, a grim necessity in a galaxy that knows only war. But it is not glorious. It is a tragedy, repeated 1,000,000 times over, to keep the flame of humanity from being extinguished. Thank you for joining me on this deep dive into the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. If you found this journey into the lore compelling, please hit that like button and subscribe for more stories from the Warhammer 40,000 universe. Let me know in the comments what aspect of the lore you'd like to explore next. Until then, stay vigilant. Have you ever dreamed of becoming a legend, of being a transhuman warrior, an angel of the Emperor, a Space Marine? It's a dream shared by billions upon billions across the galaxy. But for every soul that yearns for this honor, only a handful are ever even considered. The path to becoming a space marine is not a journey of glory, but a brutal, unforgiving trial by fire where failure means death. Today, we delve into the harrowing process of recruitment, a crucible that forges the mightiest warriors in the Imperium. Before a single gene seed is implanted, before any power armor is donned, a candidate must first be chosen. And where do the Adeptus Astartes find these raw, uncut diamonds? Not in the comfortable halls of imperial nobility, but in the harshest, most unforgiving environments imaginable. They look for mortals who have already stared into the abyss and spat in its eye. Consider the death worlds. Planets where the very air can be toxic, where the flora and fauna have evolved into apex predators, and where every day is a desperate battle for survival. On worlds like Fenris, home of the space wolves, children are left to fend for themselves in frozen, volcanic wastelands. They must hunt monstrous ice krakens and navigate treacherous landscapes just to see the next sunrise. Only the strongest, the most resilient, and the most ferocious are even worthy of the Sky Warrior's attention. Then there are the feral worlds, planets thrown back into a primitive state, populated by warring tribes locked in endless conflict. Here, there is no advanced technology, only sharpened steel, raw courage, and brutal strength. The White Scars, for example, recruit from the horselands of Kogaris. Young warriors must prove their mastery of the hunt, their skill in battle, and their unwavering loyalty to their tribe. They are judged not by their knowledge of the Imperium, but by the fire in their hearts and the strength of their arm. To be chosen is to be the best warrior among a world of warriors. In the sprawling, nightmarish cityscapes of hive worlds, another type of recruit is found, down in the underhives, amidst crushing poverty, rampant gang warfare, and industrial decay. Life is cheap. The Imperial Fists and their successors often look here, seeking youths who have been hardened by the concrete jungle. These gangers are cunning, resourceful, and utterly ruthless. They've fought for every scrap of food, every inch of territory, and every breath they've taken. They possess a grim determination and a familiarity with close-quarters brutality that makes them prime candidates for the Astartes. And what of the feudal worlds? Planets that resemble ancient Terra, with castles, knights, and a strict code of honor. Here, chapters like the Black Templars or the Dark Angels find recruits among the squires and knights of noble houses. These young men are raised on tales of chivalry, duty, and righteous zeal. They are trained from birth in swordsmanship, jousting, and the art of war. Their unwavering faith and disciplined minds are the perfect foundation upon which to build a warrior of the Emperor. Death world, feral world, hive world, feudal world. DH presents a unique form of hell, and only those who thrive in it are noticed. Once a potential candidate is identified, the true trials begin. These tests are designed to push aspirants far beyond the limits of human endurance, to break them in body, mind, and spirit. Only those who are utterly unbreakable can proceed. The specifics vary from chapter to chapter, each test reflecting the chapter's own culture and combat doctrine. For the Blood Angels, aspirants on their irradiated homeworld of Boal must undertake a perilous pilgrimage across treacherous deserts, battling giant, mutated creatures. They are given little food or water, forcing them to rely on their wits and their will to survive. Many will succumb to the radiation, the thirst, or the monsters that haunt the sands. The Ultramarines, known for their discipline and strategic acumen, subject their candidates to rigorous tactical and logical trials. They are placed in command of simulated battles, their decisions scrutinized for any flaw. But this isn't just a mental game. They must also endure grueling physical challenges, from marathon runs in full armor to gladiatorial combat in the arenas of strength without intellect is useless to them. Perhaps most infamous are the Trials of the Iron Hands. On the grim world of Medusa, aspirants must prove they are worthy of shrugging off the weakness of the flesh. They face trials of extreme pain and endurance. One such trial involves climbing a treacherous mountain range during a season of intense tectonic activity, dodging rockfalls, and navigating chasms while being hunted by cybernetic predators. Another might require them to hold their hand in a forge's fire, a test not just of pain tolerance, but of their conviction that flesh is fallible. Let's paint a clearer picture. Imagine you are a youth named Kale, from a tribe on a frozen death world. Your entire life has been a struggle against the cold and the beasts that prowl the ice. One day, a sky chariot of dark metal descends, and giants in ceramite armor emerge. They are the angels of death, and they have come for the strongest of your generation. You, along with 100 of your tribe's finest young warriors, are taken. You are not greeted with honor, but with another trial. You are stripped of your furs and weapons and left on a vast, wind-swept glacier. Your objective, to reach a shimmering peak miles away. The catch: you are not alone. Vicious, multi-limbed ice fiends are released onto the glacier with you. The trial is simple. Survive the elements, survive the beasts, and reach the peak. The unstated rule is that you must also survive each other, as desperation can turn friend into foe. The first few hours are chaos. The wind howls, a physical force that saps your strength and freezes your skin. Some of the weaker aspirants collapse within the first hour, their bodies quickly becoming frozen statues. Then the fiends attack. You see a boy you grew up with, a skilled hunter. Torn apart in seconds, panic sets in. A group of a dozen aspirants try to fight a beast together. It slaughters them all. You learn quickly. You run, you hide. You use the terrain. You see another aspirant fall into a hidden crevasse, his scream cut short. You don't stop. To hell, you can't. This isn't a test of compassion. It's a test of pure, selfish survival. Days blur into a nightmare of hunger, cold, and terror. You eat lichen scraped from rocks. You drink melted ice from small pools. You fight off frostbite and the constant, gnawing fear. Of the 100 who started, you see perhaps 20 others still moving after the first week. The rest are gone frozen, fallen, or devoured. You reach the base of the final peak. It's a sheer cliff of ice. As you begin to climb, you see others above you. One slips, his fingers, too numb to hold on. He plummets past you. A silent testament to the unforgiving nature of this test. You just keep climbing, one handhold at a time, your muscles screaming, your lungs burning. Finally, after what feels like an eternity, you pull yourself over the ledge. You are one of only 3 who made it. The other 2 lie, collapsed nearby, their chests heaving. The Space Marines are waiting. They look down at you, their faces impassive masks. There is no praise, no congratulations. One of them simply points towards awaiting transport. You have passed the first trial. You have earned the right to face the next, even more grueling phase. You have survived, while dozens of your peers perished, and the worst is yet to come. This is the reality of becoming a Space Marine. It's a process of brutal, merciless attrition. Thousands are tested, but only a handful will ever stand before the chapter's apothecaries and gene rights. They've proven they have the strength, the cunning, and the indomitable will to survive. But, Ebonten, their journey has just begun. They must now face the surgical implantation of the gene seed organs, a process that will kill many of those who have already sacrificed so much. The dream of becoming an angel is paved with the bodies of the unworthy. Thank you for joining us on this journey into the dark heart of the 41st millennium. If you found this exploration of the Space Marine trials fascinating, please hit that like button, subscribe for more lore, and ring the bell so you don't miss our next video. Let us know in the comments which chapters, trials you find the most brutal. Until next time, may the Emperor protect. Have you ever wondered what it truly takes to become a Space Marine? One of the Emperor's angels of death. Forget heroic tales and glorious ascensions. The reality is a brutal, agonizing journey. A crucible of flesh and steel that few survive. This is the story of that transformation. A path paved with 19 steps of pure torment. It begins with selection. From feral worlds to civilized hives, only the most resilient, aggressive, and determined young men are chosen. But this is not an honor. It's a death sentence for most. Once they pass the initial trials, their ordeal truly begins. They are not merely trained. They are remade, forged anew in a process that shatters their very humanity. The first major hurdle is the implantation of the 19 gene seed organs, bioengineered marvels derived from the genetic code of the Primarchs themselves. This isn't a clean, futuristic procedure. It's a series of invasive, brutal surgeries that push the aspirant's body to its absolute limit and beyond. The process can take years, and with each new organ, the risk of a catastrophic, fatal rejection grows. The journey into post-humanity starts with the black carapace. Thick sheets of this neuroreactive material are inserted under the skin of the aspirant's torso. It hardens over time, interfacing directly with their nervous system. Eventually, it will allow them to connect with their power armor, to wear it not as a suit, but as a second skin. But the implantation process is excruciating, a constant, deep ache, as their body fights against this alien intrusion. It's the foundation upon which a warrior is built, but it's laid in a bed of pure agony. Next comes the osmodule. This complex organ is implanted into the bone marrow. It secretes hormones that dramatically alter the aspirant's skeletal structure. Their bones thicken, lengthen, and fuse. Their ribcage becomes a solid, interlocking plate of bone, capable of deflecting blows that would shatter a normal man. They grow taller, broader, their very frame contorting into something far beyond human. Imagine the growing pains of adolescence, magnified 1,000 times, a constant, grinding torment as your skeleton is forcibly reshaped from the inside out. For months, they live in this state of perpetual, screaming agony. Then, the biscopia is implanted into the chest cavity. This organ floods our system with growth hormones, stimulating a rapid and dramatic increase in muscle mass. They swell with unnatural strength, their bodies becoming dense slabs of fibrous muscle. They develop the physical power to crush a man's skull with their bare hands, but this power is born from a body in constant, violent flux. Their entire metabolism is hijacked, their physical form twisted into a weapon. Following this is the hamastaman, implanted into a major blood vessel. This organ radically alters the composition of their blood, making it far more efficient at carrying oxygen. This grants them incredible stamina, the ability to fight for days without rest. It's one of the keys to their legendary endurance on the battlefield. Simultaneously, Laraman's organ is placed within the chest. This remarkable piece of bioengineering manufactures Laraman cells, which act as instant clotting agents upon exposure to air. A space marine's wounds can seal themselves in mere seconds, preventing catastrophic blood loss. It's an incredible advantage in combat, but like all the other gifts, its installation is another violation of the body's natural state, another source of strain and potential rejection. The process continues, relentless and unforgiving. The catalepsian node is implanted at the back of the brain. It allows a Marine to shut down parts of their mind, to stay awake and alert for days, or even weeks, by sleeping one hemisphere of the brain at a time. Sleep, that most basic human comfort, is re-engineered into another tactical tool. Then there are the 3 new lungs. The preomner, a pre-stomach, is implanted in the chest cavity. Connected to the esophagus, it allows a Marine to digest otherwise inedible materials, from toxic fungi to raw animal flesh, and to neutralize ingested poisons. The oolitic kidney, in conjunction with the neuroglottis in the mouth, allows them to assess poisons and toxins by taste or smell and filter them from their bloodstream. Survival is paramount, and their bodies are turned into self-sustaining, altering biological engines. Perhaps most famous are the Becher's gland and the Susan membrane. The Becher's gland, implanted in the lower jaw, allows a Marine to produce and spit a blinding, corrosive acid. It's a biological weapon, turning their very saliva into a tool of war. The Susan membrane, implanted on the surface of the brain, is a final, desperate measure. In response to extreme trauma, it can induce a state of suspended animation, allowing a Marine to survive wounds that would be instantly fatal to anyone else, lying dormant for centuries if need be, until they can be recovered and repaired. One of the most profound changes is the Lyman's ear. This organ replaces the aspirant's original ears, granting them immunity to dizziness and motion sickness, and allowing them to consciously filter out disorienting background noise. Their hearing becomes preternaturally sharp, another sense honed for the battlefield. The transformation is total. Their voice deepens into a guttural growl as their vocal cords thicken. Their eyes are altered, granting them superior night vision. Their sense of smell and taste becomes so acute they can track a target by scent alone. Every part of their original self is stripped away, analyzed, and improved for the purpose of war. Imagine the psychological toll. A child, perhaps no older than 10 or 12, is taken from their home and subjected to this. For months, stretching into years, pain is their only constant companion. They watch their friends, their fellow aspirants, die on the surgical slabs next to them, their bodies breaking under the strain. They scream through nights of bone-stretching agony and days of grueling hypnoconditioning. Their minds scrubbed and rebuilt just as violently as their bodies. They're broken down to their component parts and reassembled into something new, something terrifying. The boy who entered the fortress monastery is gone forever. In his place stands a giant, a demigod of war, clad in ceramite, and fueled by righteous fury. He is a space marine, an angel of death, and his humanity is the price he paid for his power. He no longer feels fear as we do. He no longer dreams of a peaceful life. His only purpose is to serve the Emperor and to bring death to his enemies. This is the grim reality of their creation. It is not a heroic tale, but a story of sacrifice, of agony, and of the complete and utter surrender of oneself to a greater and far more terrible purpose. The galaxy is a dark and unforgiving place, and it takes monsters to keep the tide of horrors at bay. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the dark heart of the 41st millennium. If you found this exploration fascinating, be sure to hit that like button, subscribe to the channel, and ring the bell for more deep dives into this grim, dark future. Let me know in the comments which aspect of a Space Marine-esque creation you find the most terrifying. Until next time, stay vigilant. Have you ever wondered what it truly takes to forge a weapon? Not one of steel and fire, but of flesh and blood. A living weapon, utterly devoted, unbreakably loyal. Today, we delve into the shadows, into the silent chambers, where minds are unmade and remade in the image of the Emperor. This is the crucible of faith, the brutal reality of indoctrination. It begins not on the battlefield, but in the quiet dark of the dormitory. Here, the process is subtle, insidious. It's called hypnotherapy, sleep learning. As recruits lie in their bunks, exhausted from grueling physical trials, a voice begins to whisper. It's a calm, steady cadence that slips past the conscious mind, planting seeds deep within the subconscious. For weeks, this continues. Every night, the same litanies of devotion, the same psalms of sacrifice. The voice speaks of unity, of purpose, of the glorious destiny that awaits those who serve the Emperor. Individuality, the very concept of I, is the first casualty. Memories of a past life, a family, a home, a name begin to fade, replaced by a singular identity. Soldier. The whispers erase personal ambition, replacing it with collective duty. The sleep learning tapes don't just teach tactics, they teach a new way of thinking, a new way of being. The self is a weakness, a flaw to be corrected. The unit, the legion, the Imperium, that is all that matters. Doubt is a disease, and the nightly whispers are the cure. As the weeks turn into months, the conditioning intensifies. This is where psychic imprinting comes into play. It's a storm of controlled mental energy, designed to burn faith directly into every neuron. Imagine a raw, overwhelming force that scours the mind, reinforcing the lessons of the hypnotherapy. It's not about persuasion anymore. It's about reconstruction. The love for the Emperor is no longer a learned response. It becomes a biological imperative, as essential as breathing. His image is etched behind their eyes. His words echo in their very soul. This psychic conditioning is a torrent, a baptism by fire for the mind. It forges a bond that cannot be broken by fear, pain, or logic. A recruit might feel a flicker of his old self, a memory of a loved one, but the psychic conditioning snuffs it out like a candle in a hurricane. It reshapes their emotional landscape, making loyalty the highest virtue and devotion, the deepest love they will ever know. The Emperor is their father, their protector, their god. To question him is to question existence itself. But what happens when a mind refuses to break? What about the ones who resist? The system has a grim, efficient answer. Purgation. There is no room for impurity, no tolerance for the slightest hesitation. To resist is to be deemed flawed, a contagion that threatens the purity of the entire unit. In this unforgiving process, it is better to be dead than impure. The system is absolute. Let me paint you a picture. Imagine a sterile, white chamber, bathed in harsh, unforgiving light. 100 recruits stand at perfect attention, their faces blank masks of discipline. In the center of the room stands one of them, a young man named... Well, his name no longer matters. During the final psychic synchronization, a tremor of doubt, a flicker of his old self, was detected. See, an officer, his face impassive, recites the charge. Contamination of thought, failure to cohere. There is no trial, no appeal. The recruit doesn't beg or scream. The conditioning has already taken hold, and he understands the price of his failure. He knows he's a flaw in the grand design. His brothers watch, their expressions unchanging. They feel no pity, no fear. They feel only the cold, hard logic of the lesson being taught. The officer raises a pistol. The sound is shockingly loud in the silent room. The recruit falls. His brothers do not flinch. They do not look away. They simply watch, and they learn. They learn that the self is the enemy. They learn that hesitation is death, and they learn that their faith must be absolute, without question, without reserve. This is the final, brutal lesson in their transformation from men into instruments of the Emperor's will. Their individuality is not just erased. It is executed as an example to the rest. From that moment on, they are no longer recruits. They are extensions of a single, unyielding will. They are the Emperor's chosen, forged in mental fire and tempered in the chilling silence of absolute obedience. Their minds are fortresses, their hearts are furnaces of faith, and their souls belong to him. This is the terrible, magnificent price of becoming one of the Emperor's finest. They are ready for war, not just as soldiers, but as true believers. Thank you for joining me on this journey into the heart of indoctrination. The universe is filled with such fascinating, if grim, lore. If you enjoyed this deep dive, please consider liking the video and subscribing for more content. Let me know in the comments what other dark corners of this universe you'd like to explore next. Until then, stay curious. Welcome back, lore masters and future chapter masters. Today, we journey into the crucible, where boys are forged into the Emperor's finest warriors, the rites of trial. For a Space Marine recruit, surviving the brutal physical and mental reconditioning is only the beginning. Trials, the trial that separates the worthy from the merely strong, has just begun. Once their bodies are remade into transhuman weapons and their minds are honed into instruments of the Emperoress, will the aspirants face a series of challenges, designed to shatter any remaining shred of their former selves and rebuild them as brothers in arms. The rites of trial are as varied as the 1,000 chapters of the Adeptus Astartes, each one reflecting the unique culture and combat doctrine of its parent chapter. For some, it is the gladiatorial pit, a blood-soaked arena where recruits are pitted against one another in savage, non-lethal combat. Here, it's not just about winning. It's about demonstrating raw courage, tactical acumen, and the will to fight on when every fiber of your being screams for you to surrender. Instructors and chaplains watch from above, judging not just the victor, but the spirit of every combatant. Do they show mercy? Do they show honor? Or do they succumb to uncontrolled rage? For other chapters, the trial takes the form of a great hunt. Recruits are unleashed into the lethal wilderness of their chapter's homeworld, or perhaps even a quarantined alien death world. Their prey, vicious predators, biohorrors, and territorial beasts. They could tear a normal man, limb from limb in seconds. Armed with little more than a combat knife and their newly enhanced senses, the aspirants must learn to work together, to track, to ambush, and to survive. They learn to trust the man to their left and right implicitly, because a moment's hesitation or a single mistake means a gruesome end, not just for them, but for their entire squad. Then there are the simulated war zones. Imagine being thrown into a full-scale holographic battlefield, a perfect recreation of some of the most hellish conflicts in Imperial history. The air crackles with simulated loss fire. The ground shakes with phantom artillery, and spectral enemies charge from all sides. The pain is real, the exhaustion is real, and the fear is most certainly real. These simulations push recruits to their absolute tactical limits, forcing them to make life or death decisions in the blink of an eye. They must learn to lead, to follow orders without question, and to understand the unforgiving calculus of war. But perhaps the most harrowing and defining trial is the one that pits brother against brother. Recruits who have bled together, who have shared every hardship, are suddenly forced to turn on one another. The objective isn't to kill, but to dominate, to prove one's superiority. This isn't a simple test of strength. It is a psychological crucible designed to forge an unbreakable bond through shared adversity. It teaches the most fundamental truth of being a space marine. You, as an individual, are expendable. You are nothing without your brothers. Your strength comes not from your own arm, but from the shield wall you form together. Those who fail these trials, those who break, who show cowardice, or who cannot integrate into the Brotherhood, are discarded. Their fate is often a grim one-some become Chappa serfs, doomed to a life of servitude, forever looking upon the warriors they could never become. Others, tragically, do not survive the trials at all. The process is merciless because the galaxy they are destined to fight in is even more so. There is no room for weakness in the Adeptus Astartes. Let me paint you a picture that captures the very essence of this process. Picture a battlefield, slick with mud and the blood of aspirants. Two recruits remain standing, locked in a brutal duel. They are exhausted, their enhanced bodies pushed far beyond any normal human limit. One stumbles, a grievous but non-fatal wound finally taking its toll. He falls to his knees, his weapon clattering to the ground. Defeated, he looks up at the victor, his brother, expecting the final, symbolic blow that will cast him out. But the victor does not strike. Instead, he lowers his weapon. Ignoring his own searing pain and exhaustion, he reaches down and hauls his fallen comrade to his feet. He slings his brother's arm over his shoulder, bearing his weight, and together, they limp from the field. In that single act of defiance against the trial's brutal logic, in that moment of pure, selfless brotherhood, he has proven his worth more than any victory could. He has understood the lesson. He has shown that he is not just a warrior, but a protector, a true son of the Emperor. It is this spirit, this unbreakable loyalty, that earns a recruit the right to finally stand among his brothers, to don the sacred power armor, and to be called a space marine. This, my friends, is how legends are born. Not in the gen labs or the hypno-indoctrination chambers, but here, in the fire of the rites of trial, where the bonds of brotherhood are forged to be stronger than any steel. They enter as aspirants, lost and alone. They emerge as a unified phalanx, ready to face the endless horrors of the 41st millennium together. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the lore. If you enjoyed this journey into the heart of the Adeptus Astartes, please show your support by hitting that like button, and be sure to subscribe and ring the notification bell so you don't miss our next exploration of the grimdark future. Let me know in the comments which chapter's trials you find the most fascinating. Until next time, stay behealand, and may the Emperor protect. Welcome back, lore masters and fellow travelers through the grim darkness of the 41st millennium. Today, we conclude a brutal, soul-crushing journey. We've witnessed a young boy's dream of heroism twisted and forged in the crucible of unimaginable trials. We've seen him endure surgical mutilation, genetic alchemy, and psychological torment that would shatter any mortal mind. Now, we stand at the precipice of the final transformation, the end of the man, and the birth of the angel of death. For the handful of aspirants who have survived this far, the final ordeal awaits. It is the culmination of every scar, every lesson, every moment of agony. It is the implantation of the black carapace. This is not just another organ. It is the K, the final interface that will forever bind flesh to machine. Imagine a sheet of black, synthetic material, studded with neural ports and invasive fibers. This is carefully, painfully, grafted beneath the skin of the neophyte's entire torso. Over weeks and months, its tendrils snake outwards, burrowing deep into their nervous system, wrapping around bone, and fusing with their very being. It's a process of agonizing integration, a final, irreversible violation of their humanity. The body must accept this alien intrusion. Many don't. The rejection is catastrophic, a final, violent end to a life defined by suffering. But for those whose bodies, through sheer force of will and genetic purity, accept the fusion, the reward is transcendence. For the first time, the neophyte stands before a suit of power armor, not as a pilot, but as a component. As the armor is lowered and locked into place, there's a symphony of hissing pneumatics and whining servos. But then, something new. A jolt, a sudden, overwhelming flood of sensory data. The black carapace connects. He feels the ceramite plates, as if they were his own skin. He senses the energy levels of the fusion pack as if it were his own heartbeat. The autosenses of the helmet become his eyes and ears, painting the world in a vibrant tapestry of tactical data, threat assessments, and firing solutions. The distinction between man and machine dissolves. He is the armor, and the armor is him. It is a feeling of unimaginable power, a godlike state of being that justifies every second of the hell he has endured. He is stronger, faster, and more resilient than any human could ever dream of being. But this ascension comes at a terrible cost. As the final pieces of his armor lock into place, so too does the final piece of his new identity. The name his mother gave him, the memories of a childhood on a forgotten world, the face of the boy who dreamed of being a hero. They are all stripped away, buried under layers of psycho-indoctrination and duty. He is no longer an individual. He is a brother. His name is replaced with an honorific, a title earned in blood. He's Brother Sergeant, Brother Librarian, Brother Apothecary. His family is now his squad, his chapter. His home is the Fortress Monastery, or the cold void of space, aboard a battle barge. His life is no longer his own. It is a single eternal vow of service to the Emperor and mankind. Look at him now, standing encased in his sacred armor. The helmet's impassive, crimson-lensed visage stares back, betraying no emotion. The boy is gone. The laughter, the tears, the fears of a mortal child have been scoured away, replaced by a cold, hard certainty. In his place stands a transhuman demigod, a living weapon forged for an eternity of war. He is an angel of death, and his only purpose is to deliver the Emperor's judgment upon the enemies of man. The dream of being a hero has died, but from its ashes has risen something far greater and far more terrifying. He is a space marine, and for him, the war has just begun. This transformation is the very soul of the Adeptus Astartes. It's a process designed to create not just a super soldier, but a symbol. When a citizen of the Imperium sees a space marine, they don't see a man in a suit of armor. They see a figure from legend, a manifestation of the Emperor's divine wrath. They see hope in the face of annihilation. The loss of individuality, the crushing of the human spirit, is seen as a necessary sacrifice. In a galaxy teeming with horrors, there is no room for the weakness of the individual. There's only room for the strength of the chapter, the unity of the brotherhood, and the unwavering, unthinking, and absolute devotion to duty. Think about the psychological implications. These are beings who have been remade, their minds wiped and they are conditioned to feel no fear, to show no mercy, and to question no order. They are living paradoxes, saviors of humanity who have had their own humanity systematically destroyed. They fight for a species they no longer truly belong to. They are monks, warriors, and zealots, all rolled into one, their entire existence revolving around battle. Peace is a foreign concept, a state of being they are not equipped to understand or endure. Their only peace is in death, and their only purpose is in war. This is the grim reality behind the glorious image. For every shining angel of death that strides the battlefield, 1,000 aspirants have perished in the trials. For every hero's name recorded in the chapter's annals, a boy's name has been forgotten, erased from history. The creation of a space marine is a testament to the Imperium as fundamental philosophy. The needs of the many, the survival of the species, outweigh the life, the soul, and the humanity of the few. It is brutal, it is tragic, but in the 41st millennium, It is necessary. The child who dreamed of being a hero is gone. In his place stands an angel of death. And for the enemies of the Emperor, that is all they will ever need to know. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the heart of the Adeptus Astartes. Have you ever wondered what it truly means to be a hero? To be a savior? In the grim darkness of the far future, where there is only war, one answer echoes across the stars, carried on the roar of bolter fire and the hymns of battle. The Adeptus Astartes, the angels of death, the Space Marines. To the countless trillions of citizens across the million worlds of the Imperium of man, they are legends brought to life. They are golden-armored demigods, descending from the heavens on wings of fire, turning the tide when all hope is lost. They are the bulwark against the alien, the mutant, the heretic. When a world is on the brink of annihilation, when the Imperial Guard's lines are shattered and the night seems endless, the arrival of Space Marines is a miracle. They are salvation made manifest. The Emperor's divine fury unleashed upon his foes. To the common man, they are saviors, pure and simple. But turn your gaze to the other side of the battlefield. To the enemies of mankind, the Space Marines are an entirely different sight. They are not saviors. They are monsters. Unstoppable, 7-foot-tall killing machines clad in ceramite plate. Their every move is a symphony of destruction. They are implacable, feeling no fear, no pity, no remorse. They are the roaring embodiment of humanity's xenophobia and righteous hatred. To the orcs, they are the ultimate good scrap. To the Eldar, they are brutish, unsubtle butchers. And to the forces of chaos, they are the deluded, shackled remnants of a forgotten glory, an object of ultimate corruption. They are not seen as heroes, but as armored nightmares, the harbingers of a brutal, merciless end. So, which is it? Are they saviors or monsters? The truth, as is often the case in the 41st millennium, is far more complex and far more tragic. To understand the Space Marine, you must look not at how others see them, but how they see themselves. And what they see is something in between. They are not men. Not anymore. The process of becoming a Space Marine is a brutal, agonizing journey that strips away almost everything that makes a person human. Young boys, often no older than 10, are taken from their homes. They are subjected to grueling psycho-conditioning, their minds broken down and rebuilt into weapons. Their memories of family, of a life before the chapter, are often wiped clean or suppressed into vague, dreamlike echoes. Then comes the physical transformation. Their bodies are ravaged and remade by the implantation of 19 specialized organs. Their bones are fused with ceramite, their rib cages transformed into a solid plate. A second heart is added, a third lung. An organ is implanted that allows them to spit corrosive acid, another to enter a state of suspended animation. They grow to towering heights, their muscles swelling with unnatural strength. By the end of this process, the boy is gone. In his place stands a transhuman warrior, he has lost his childhood, his family, his very humanity, all sacrificed on the altar of duty. But if they are not men, are it gods? Many in the Imperium might think so, but the Space Marines themselves know this to be a lie. They are not divine. They believe. They feel pain, even if they are conditioned to ignore it, and they can die. For every glorious victory, there are countless untold stories of sacrifice. Marines torn apart by tyrannid claws, vaporized by Necron Gauss weapons, or corrupted by the insidious whispers of chaos. They stand on a razor's edge, fighting not only the enemies without, but the potential for failure and damnation within. They are sterile, unable to have children. They will never know the peace of old age, the warmth of a family, or the simple joys of a normal life. Their existence is one of perpetual war, a litany of battle after battle, century after century, until they finally fall. Their only family is their battle brothers, their only home the cold stone of their fortress monastery, or the steel decks of a strike cruiser. They are living weapons, forged for a single, terrible purpose: to kill in the name of the Emperor. This is the central tragedy of the Space Marine. They give up their humanity to protect humanity. They become monsters to fight monsters. They are forever set apart from the very people they are sworn to defend, viewed with a mixture of awe and fear. They cannot return to the lives they left behind. They are prisoners of their own strength, their own purpose. They are walking, talking relics of a bygone age, instruments of a war that may never end. They carry the weight of 10,000 years of duty on their massive shoulders. They remember victories that are now just myths and legends to the wider Imperium. They have seen worlds burn and galaxies tremble. And through it all, they endure. They fight. They bleed. They die. And they do it all without complaint, for their sacrifice is the price of mankind's survival. So, what are they? To the Imperium, they are saviors. To the enemies of mankind, they are monsters. But to themselves, they are something in between. They are not men. They are not gods. They are space marines, and their sacrifice begins the moment they are chosen. Next time, we descend into the swarm, the devouring of the Tyranids. Thank you so much for joining me on this deep dive into the 41st millennium. If you enjoyed this exploration of the Adeptus Astartes, please consider hitting that like button, subscribing to the channel, and ringing the bell so you don't miss our next video. We've got a lot more lore to uncover. Until then, stay safe, and may the Emperor protect.